Okay, we're back. So let's continue on our talk about different ways of dimensioning. So the way this is going to look is if I'm dimensioning something large, let's say I'm dimensioning something large. So let's say I'm dimensioning something that's got a large gap in between. Okay. So the current standard says that you put two dimension lines with arrowheads, and you put the value in between them. So let's say this is a 2-inch gap. So now somewhere else on our drawing would mention the units. It would say something like all units are measured in inches or all units are measured in millimeters, whatever the case may be. If that's not clearly defined, then we would need to go ahead and right here put in, double tick tells us it's inches, or write IN next to it. That would be just fine. Now this is the current standard. This is the current commonly accepted standard. And again, we talked about line types early on. We said that these are extension lines. These are thin, solid lines that indicate what is being dimensioned. We've got some kind of object down here that is 2 inches in width in this case. Now, there are, and again, these here with the arrowheads, these are what we call dimension lines. Now, there's some older standards that might say I would put a cross hatch on there, so to speak, and again, put my value in the middle. There's some older dimensions that will have just a straight line, single dimension line with dual arrowheads. These are older standards. You'll see those on drawings from time to time. They're effective. We wouldn't use them here. Okay. Those are older standards. This is the current standard. This is what we'll want to do here. You can also utilize a dual dimension standard or a dual unit standard where you say, well, it's 2 inches, and put in parentheses that would be like basically 51 millimeters, or put them in brackets. That's a dual unit standard. And so that's perfectly acceptable. Now, if we talk about, that's good for horizontal dimensions. If we talk about vertical dimensions, if we start talking about how do we do some vertical dimensions? Well, a vertical dimension, we would want to, of course, have horizontal extension lines, single pass, thin, solid lines. And then you can do it one of two ways. You can, if you're feeling really fancy, you can put your dimension line there and you can write your number in a vertical format and put your other dimension line on the other side. And that takes some practice. I don't recommend that necessarily for the rookies. Perfectly acceptable and very common to just, especially if you're writing it by hand. And again, we're not going to be professional drafters here. We're just trying to get the point across. Perfectly acceptable standard is just to draw your dimension lines and write the numbers in a horizontal format across the middle. So that's a horizontal gap. Now let's say we have, for smaller gaps, move the dimension lines and or the value out of the gap. And that's my 5-minute warning. I'm going to stop there and pick up the next video.